Erik Ten Hag is not responsible for the bad culture at Manchester United yet, but he's missing opportunities to change that culture and be a part of the solution. And that's really a shame. Welcome back to Stoppage Time here at Pints and Punditry. And today I want to talk about culture on clubs and on teams. And I'm going to use what happened in Manchester United's Europa League game yesterday as sort of the focal point of this. By now you've probably seen the video of Antony. He gets the ball, he's not really being challenged, and he does his little double spin move thing and then makes a terrible pass that goes out of bounds and they lose the ball. And ultimately, it didn't really matter. This was a game that Manchester United was going to win, and they did win, and he was just out there sort of goofing around and having some fun. He was also pulled at halftime, and my initial response, my initial thought was good for Erik Ten Hag for not putting up with this, because it doesn't matter that you're going to win this game by a lot. It doesn't matter that your opponent is not tough and that it's the Europa League. These are the sorts of things that do not happen on clubs that have good cultures. You don't see players do this for Pep. You don't see players do this for Jurgen Klopp. It just doesn't happen. And if it does happen, it'll be the last time that happens. It'll be the last time they play for a while. And so, my initial thought was good for Erik Ten Hag for taking him out. They've had some culture issues there, and they're not Erik Ten Hag's fault. Culture is something that is established over time and with consistency, and probably starts at the top above the manager, but it's the manager's job to enforce consistently. Well, there hasn't been any consistent enforcement at Manchester United because they haven't had a manager for more than 6 months in the last couple of years. I mean, it's ridiculous. Whose culture exactly are we instilling? Is it Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's? I mean, he was there for a while, but then he's gone. Ralph Rangnick, what culture did he bring? And now Erik Ten Hag is coming in, and I'm sure he's trying to instill his own culture on this team, but that takes time. So my initial thought is to applaud him. He dropped Cristiano Ronaldo after he refused to go in and walked off the pitch. Now he takes Antony out, except that after the game, he was asked if that played a role, and he said no, that the substitution was already pre-planned and they wanted to see some other guys together in the second half. And I just it makes me cringe because, God, you had the chance to send the message. And, managers, coaches, head coaches in different sports have different philosophies on these sorts of things. Some of them will always protect the player and then handle it in-house, behind the scenes. But I don't love that, particularly in the egotistical world of professional football. And Antony's a guy who just signed for a lot of money and probably thinks he can do whatever he wants. And you see Cristiano Ronaldo, who refuses to go in as a sub and then walks off the pitch and only really gets one game as a punishment. And you're now establishing a track record and a precedent that you can sort of get away with this stuff. They look at Cristiano Ronaldo as an all-time great because he is. And he gets that little slap on the wrist. I've made a video saying they should get rid of him. Why are they holding on to him? Why? So he can score a goal in the Europa League? Big freaking deal. So this is what happens when Cristiano Ronaldo gets a proverbial slap on the wrist for downright insubordination. Then in the next game or two, Antony feels like he can go on and dick around with his little spin move and turn the ball over. And this is the stuff that they feel they can get away with. And Erik Ten Hag took him out, but then he backpedaled and says that wasn't why. And maybe it wasn't why, in which case you get even less credit. So culture is just so important, and it's something that has to be ingrained over time. And that's why, I've called to say Jesse Marsch should not be fired at Leeds because he's trying to instill a culture there. And in general, the amount of time managers get, particularly in England, is ridiculously short. There's never a time to really establish a culture and to really make an impact. It's just let's implement a system and hope it works. And the minute you lose a few matches or go winless for 4 or 5 in a row, you're out into the next guy. You're never going to have any culture there. And the best clubs have a culture that is instilled. Man City, Real Madrid, these clubs have a culture that starts from the top above the manager, but goes through the manager to enforce, and he has to be there for long enough for it to actually take hold. This is how we do things here. We do not do these sorts of things here, right? And that clearly is not the case in Manchester United, and I want to defend Erik Ten Hag because he's He could not possibly have established a good culture yet, so soon, so quickly, after all the turnover they've had, and he's clearly not coming in and inheriting a good culture. But he's missing opportunities to do so and to speed up that learning curve. He didn't. There was not enough of a repercussion for Cristiano Ronaldo, and there's not enough repercussion here for Antony. Maybe he gets dropped next game or something like that, but no one's owning it, saying this is the problem and that what he did on the pitch was a problem, and that is a problem. So Erik Ten Hag is not responsible for the bad culture at Manchester United yet, but he's missing opportunities to change that culture and be a part of the solution, and that's really a shame. Thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry. This is Total FIFA Career Mode.